What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Welcome to Oso Simplified, coming to you with a video here about do something towards your goals every day. Um, if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, dislike, leave negative comments. Any feedback will do. But let's jump into this one. And as always, these videos are really just videos to myself about what I need to do to kind of achieve the goals that I have set for myself. And this year, I'm very committed to making sure all that happens. Whereas things have slipped by in the past. Not that I haven't achieved anything, but I haven't achieved all that I'm looking to this year, trying to make it very different. So, I guess my question to you would be, have you ever had any goals that you've created and never actually seen them come to fruition? Answer is yes, without even knowing you, because that is the case for most people. And for me, really, this YouTube channel, so you can kind of use the videos, look at my activity here, as well as another channel I have that once I kind of get the bearings, will make that introduction, are kind of like really big goals for me in terms of just making this an actual money making, revenue producing vehicle and not just something that I do here and there. Hence, do something every day. And number one on this is that you want to do something every day towards your goal because it makes it become habitual, it becomes more routine. The things that I do all the time, like working out, I'm like always in pretty good shape. Have a eye grapple type of shirt. That type of stuff is always easy for me because it's become very routine. When I miss consecutive days of not working out, not only do I feel the mental weight of like, damn, I'm missing something I said I was gonna do. It also gives me like a physical feeling of like something is off. I haven't done the thing that releases endorphins repetitively, which building that in is something that's important. Whenever I make a video, whenever I post something, I do feel good about myself, but I do it kind of like once a week at this point, and because of that, it's not really built in as this reward mechanism the same way as working out, the same way as, even simple stuff like eating, doing things like that. It's hasn't really been built as that real reward. Whereas working out or even fixing things around my house when they do come up are more one immediate, a little bit easier, less planning. But once again, those are things that I would do every day, or at least the working out part. The second part of this is that you kind of make it very easy to track towards the goal because progress becomes daily and automatic. That if you are always doing something every day and using this metaphor of creating a channel, figuring out how to make it a revenue producing vehicle, um, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to post every day, but if you're working towards something every day, one, the ideas start to come, but you're making progress to your goal because there is a consistent, continuous path. It's like what Lao Tzu said, you know, uh, 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 a um, a journey of 10,000 li begins with one step, and that's really what's important is that it's a consecutive um, accumulation of consecutive steps towards a direction and not one big jump to get you there. And the best way to do that is to make this a daily habit, a daily practice, a daily action, which admittedly for myself has not really been the case. It's something that I might spend 1 or 2 days on creating, or even just sporadically, like I need to get a video up and I spend, a few hours doing this, where it needs to be a little bit more progressive and also a little bit more routine and frequent. The last thing on point number one is that the more you do it, the easier and the faster it becomes. I am in a job where I create a lot of contracts. I work for I basically sell technology. I sell software, B2B software. Our contract system's a little bit intricate because there's a lot of different access parameters, categories, and different ways that we can deliver the data that we send over. The first time I created a contract, it was something very slow. The more that I create the contract, the easier it's gotten. Same thing with creating a demo and preparing for a demo. There used to be times where I would have to spend a whole 30 minutes to an hour to prepare for a demo. Once I create the slides, create what I'm going to present, it really takes me about 15, 20 minutes really to prepare for a demo almost front to back, whereas it took about 3 times as long. Plus, it took another hour to create all of the supplemental materials I'm going to present, which because I've done it so many times at this point, it has become a lot easier to do it. So that's really the first part. Do something every day because it becomes routine. The second part is that I've done, if you watch the early kind of ideation of this channel, a lot of it was book reviews. So I read a ton of self help books. You can see my bookcase behind me as well. And I've read a lot of these different self help books. One thing that is very consistent, and I can give two that just come off the top of my head. Brian Tracy, he always talks about having a definite purpose and one particular goal that you're focused on, that you do something every day towards. I know Cardone, a lot of his, obviously speaking more from a sales background and sales mindset, when he talked about behaviors you need to do, he was like, do it every day because anything worth doing is worth doing every day. And this is a very consistent theme. It's a theme that maybe I've ignored or tried to think that I'm special and do it in a different way. But the reason why they do it is for a reason, because it works, because it's a simple barometer to kind of get you from point A to point B. And really, the compounding effect of working towards something is what generates the different results. It also will have benefits in terms of being more congruent with your identity, that when you are doing this thing every day, you feel like you are that. And it's less of this idea of, I have to become or act or pretend I'm something. You're doing it all the time. You'll have the reps that you are that type of person. And then the last part of this, a part two, I would say, is that it forces you to simplify your targets. You can't have 20 different goals and decide that I'm going to work towards it every day, especially if you have a job, things like that. It really simplifies, what am I going to focus on? What are the main things that I want in my purview? What am I going to move towards? And then once I decide on that, I just make daily, uh, progress towards that goal, working on it, doing something every day. And one way, if you're trying to figure out, I have all these ideas. One way that I've heard, I can't really think of who actually was the person that said this, but I know it's like a kind of common wisdom in the self-help world, if you will. But it's like, you should attack the goal that, if completed, it would make all other goals easier or obsolete. Um, so that should be kind of what makes a definite purpose. Obviously, a big part of like this content creation for me was like, this would solve a lot of my problems. If I had an independent income, a lot of the desires I have would be basically fulfilled or made easier by accomplishing that with this type of goal. So that's number two. The last part is really more so towards like, how do you start doing something every day? And the number one piece here is that you want to reduce your barrier to entry and make it easy on yourself. So, one, getting started. Try to do something where you can just start, you can just do. Like for me, I just hit record. I thought of this, came up with a few points that you see me referencing a little bit, and I'm going to post it. I've actually cut back on the editing time that I would do because I realized that that was something that was holding me back a bit. And understanding that quality will follow quantity. The more that you do something, as I mentioned before, the better and easier it gets, the better and easier the quality gets. I know Alex Hermosi talks about this study where they have these people, and it was like a professor. Maybe it wasn't even necessarily supposed to be like an actual study, but he kind of did it on his own classroom where he had two different classes. It was like a ceramics class, and it was like one class, their assignment was, you need to make as many pots as possible. And then the other class was like, you just need to come in with one pot, but it needs to be the best quality pot that you can create. And at the end of the semester, it was found that the group that created the most quantity of pots not only created significantly more pots than the group that was told that it's all about the quality of one pot, they also created better quality pots because they practiced significantly more and screwed up and had trial and error far more than the other group. So, once again, that's an example of quality following quantity. So, the more you do the reps, the better quality results you're going to get, just from the fact that you're better at doing it. Um, and the last part on this is that, really, when you think of things, big dreams, big ambitious goals, big ambitious targets are really broken up into little steps that you're progressing at a consistent rate. Daily is just a easy trackable rate. Every time the sun goes down and the sun comes up, you need to do something and redo it again. And I think that there is a simplicity to that, which doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easy to understand. And if you feel like you have too many goals, I would just really break them down into kind of like the main ones of your life. I feel like money, fitness, relationships, and then like kind of like your personal, like home and idea of things are really kind of the main ones that you should focus on, having one of each, and maybe a flex one that kind of, maybe two in one kind of thing, but really just having one definite one for each one of those, I think will take a lot of people in a lot of different direction. My next video is really about the second part of this that I need to work on with myself, and it's really increasing your work capacity. That in order to really achieve anything, especially if you want to have multiple things on your plate, where I'm basically trying to become a professional fighter at 34, mixed with having a full career where I'm trying to hit my number, go to President's Club, all those types of things, on top of trying to create my own content, personal brand type business. All three of those, and then also have a social life. And I'm not a celibate dude. Let's just be straight up. Like, trying to add all those together, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take time management. It's going to mean that I need to be very productive with the time that I do have. I'm also managing a house where there's a bunch of things that I need to work on, and being a little bit more creative in terms of how I'm producing things. But all in all, that's just really to say that that's going to be the next video, is that the first part is create a way that you can do things every day, and then when you create that, you need to increase your work capacity to actually supercharge and speed your way to that actual goal. So that's really it for this one. You like the content, like, didn't like, dislike, leave some comments below. Really appreciate the 2 or 3 people that have been watching every video. I've been seeing it. You guys are watching big portions of it. So I definitely appreciate that. And until next time, you know what it is. Peace.